Thanks again for hopping on, McKenna. We're super excited to talk to you, get to know more about your background, and let the AU audience kind of learn more of what it's like to play pro and college basketball. But I know we talked about it before the pre-show a little bit, but we'd love to get into just your story. How you got to play college hoops at Penn State, how you got to the pro level, and kind of like working all the way from the beginning. What's your own athletic journey, and what was it like growing up for you playing basketball?
Yeah, so I played a bunch of sports when I was younger. I played everything. My parents had my siblings and I in everything. I was in soccer, ice skating, softball, just gymnastics, which I wasn't very good. But I feel like I got a good taste for a bunch of different sports. And I actually played, I chose soccer and basketball were my two main sports. And I played it all the way up until my freshman year in high school. I played soccer. So those were the two sports I was deciding between. It was a hard decision. I loved both of them. I just felt like I had more of a future in basketball, and I kind of fell in love with it a little bit more. But I felt like soccer really helped me on the basketball court because, I played everywhere on the soccer field, but I played a lot of midfield, which was a lot of running back and forth, like offense, defense. So that just really helped me with my stamina on the basketball court as well. And then the footwork with it too. So that just playing a bunch of different sports, I felt like just really helped me in basketball. And then my family is a big Penn State family. So my mom went to Penn State. My grandpa played on the 1954 Final Four men's team at Penn State. My brothers both went there. Both my aunts were on the dance team. So I had a long history with Penn State. And I kind of I since I was little, I have a bunch of pictures of me at Penn State, all my siblings, around the Nittany Lion, whether we were at a basketball game, a football game, whatever it was. So that was kind of always the college that I knew. And I never really considered kind of playing college and basketball until I got to about I want to say middle school or maybe sixth grade, when everyone was like, she could, she's good, she could play in college. And I didn't even think about that and think it was an option. I kind of just loved sports and played them for fun and was competitive. Yeah. So then when I got my offer from Penn State in college, in high school, I was like, wow, this is kind of the school that I've always known, always dreamed of. My family went here, and I had a lot of amazing offers, just amazing schools. And just because of that family background, I was like, I just feel like my heart is at Penn State. So that's kind of how I landed there.
That's awesome. I didn't know that you played multiple sports, and I know a lot of athletes do. You had a lot of success, and I was going through some of your stats from freshman year to senior year. You played a lot of minutes early on. Which is unusual because a lot of times there's that acclimation period for, coming into your freshman year, learning the culture, the team, learning the training process. Seems like you hit the ground running. Was playing multiple sports, was that helpful in kind of acclimating you because you're probably so busy playing multiple sports, juggling academics? Was that something that was helpful for you going into college?
Yeah, I felt like it was very, very helpful. I felt like, my high school soccer team too was very good. They were very competitive, and just playing against high level competition, that stamina as well, because when you hop up to that college level, it's the running piece of it and the having to be in shape. It's a whole another level. So I just felt like all year round, soccer was a different season than basketball. They intertwined sometimes, but I just felt like, I was always in good shape. It kept me in good shape. I would say the running part of it, that intensity, it wasn't too hard for me going into college. It's hard for everyone. The conditioning in college sucks.
Yeah.
It's tough, but I felt like soccer and basketball, playing both of those, just really helped me kind of transition easier to the college game.
One thing I wanted to touch on before we dive into more of your Penn State and pro career, you mentioned when you were going back to playing as a young kid, not that you just woke up one day and were an amazing athlete, but you said sixth, seventh grade, you started thinking about playing in college, and people were looking at you saying oh, she's really good. I guess for young athletes and parents out there, did you do anything in particular from the time you touched the basketball? I'm sure, on a Fisher Price hoop in the basement at 4 up until sixth grade. Did you do any training at that point? It sounds like you have good family genes too, but what did you do before that point to help you be a really good middle school player? Because we've seen that where, not that if you're good in middle school you play in college, but it does play a part. If you're very good as a young athlete, you have that confidence. So what did you do as a young kid to build up towards that?
Like I said, I was always competitive in sports. I always pushed myself, I felt 100%, when I trained, whether that was soccer, whether that was basketball. And I did start to do a little bit more basketball when it got to middle school. I feel like 7th and 8th grade, like I would ball handle like every single night. And I just had like a 5-10 minute routine. And I would, work on my skills, work on shooting, all that stuff a little bit more. I started going to trainers. Yeah, I started taking it like a little bit more seriously, but I felt like the biggest thing was just going 100% and pushing myself as hard as I could, because then, that I felt like that really just built my skills and kind of made me like more intense on the basketball court. Like I practiced as hard as I would play. And I felt like that really helped me. And I continued that too in high school. Like I always just pushed myself 100%. So I do feel like that's really important for young kids, and have fun with it. That's very important too, especially when you're young. But just if you want to take your game to the next level and you do have that aspiration of playing in college, going 100% in practice is super important.
Love that message.
And going into your development from middle school, high school to college, I know you're a really good shooter, and Gene kind of touched on this with shooting, and that might have been something. Was that something from the start you were pretty naturally good at, or was that something that you really had to develop? And were there any obstacles where you're like, oh, this is a weakness and I have to work on it at a young age, that helped you develop into the college player you became?
I can't even remember that far back, but I know I wasn't always a great shooter. And, I obviously, like, basketball is a game of ups and downs, and even shooting, the best players in the world have games where they don't shoot well. But when you're a kid, I feel like, it's just shooting and just trying to work on that form, like getting your arm under the ball, making sure you're following through, trying to keep your left hand out of it as much as possible. Like those things, just working on that. But when you're a kid, like your hands are so small and you're growing. And so like a lot of kids will shoot it across their body, or they'll, to power to get it up there, which is fine. I think just trying to teach them as much as possible the right form, and then eventually as they get stronger, as they grow, like that's their form's going to be good. But I do remember when I was in middle school, and then I got to, I think it was my sophomore year in high school, my shot was just so messed up. And I was like, I need to find a shooting coach. A good family friend, Tim McConnell, actually really helped me. So my grandpa actually coached Tim McConnell in college, and he was a great player, and he was a great coach. And TJ and Meg are
pretty good.
His kids, obviously. Yeah. But he really helped me. I will give Tim a lot of credit. He really helped me, and with my shot, like my left hand was so involved with the ball. And this was a piece of advice I would give to kids, like try to keep that left hand out of it as much as you can. Like I still kind of get it involved, but especially if you have smaller hands, like if you shoot the basketball, you want to try to just get that, whatever hand you use, get the offhand off of it, because it kind of, like it'll direct the ball left or right, and it disturbs your shot. Tim really helped me with that, and he had me just like, there was a piece of, I don't even know what it was. He just kept my left hand off the ball, because he said, your left hand is getting involved way too much. And just completely for the rest of my high school career, it changed my shot, and it like for the better. Also, like I didn't have a jump shot before that, and after working with Tim, I really developed a jump shot. But yeah, I'd say Tim had a big part in that. And then my grandpa also would help me, and my dad, of course. Like I had a great support system just helping, around me. So that's
really cool to hear the coaching aspect. I think a lot of parents and athletes, they want to find somebody like that. Obviously, if you know somebody personally, it's a big help. But if you don't, I think finding somebody who's been where you want to, get to. And it sounds like Tim, obviously, he did it with his own kids, too, who are a little bit older than us. That's cool to see coaching really play a factor. I guess not just coaching and playing, but we saw that you were like awesome in the classroom, too. I think you were academic, all Big Ten. I know a lot of parents and athletes, their goal is to get to college, but a lot of parents, which is a great thing to do, they want to focus on the academics for the kids, too, and make sure they don't fall behind in the classroom, just focusing on basketball. So when you got to Penn State, had a crazy schedule, I'm sure you had like 2-a-days in the off-season. In-season was probably even more hectic. How did you balance that? Athletics with academics and still remaining like really strong in the classroom? What did you do to kind of like prep yourself and make sure that you didn't fall behind?
Yeah, so discipline is super important. You have to just stay on top of your work, especially in college. I mean, I will say in college, the setup, it's just so regimented, like everything. Basically, you like almost don't have time to mess around or get behind. Like you do have to, like I said, stay disciplined, but there's like for me, there was such a schedule. I did like my student teaching my 5th year, and I had wake up 5 a.m. practice. Then I had to go to student teaching the whole day. And then I had to go back to the gym for weights. And it was just like bam, 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 bam. Like everything was just a schedule for me. I will say like college athletics does a really great job of like, you have so many people around you helping you like with your schedule. And really you just have to follow it and be disciplined with it. Like you can get off course like easily. But I don't know. I did care about the academic side of it. I like if basketball didn't end up working out, I wanted to have a degree and I wanted to, be able to get a job somewhere. So I did, I took that part very seriously. And like I said, I'm pretty competitive. So if my grades weren't good, I wasn't satisfied with that. The discipline part of it is very important. Make sure you're staying on top of your work. Make sure you're, staying on top of basketball, like not being late to things, scheduling things out.
I know Matt and I both played D3 hoops. You never wanted to be the one person dragging the team's GPA down.
Yeah.
maybe one semester Matt and I were, but not every semester.
Yeah, we were pretty fortunate. But you're balancing a lot of things when you're in college between basketball, academics, social life, all of those things. There's a lot of talk now around mental health and, dealing with a lot of pressure. You dealt with pressure not just off the court, but, on the court. Being a shooter, I'm sure you played a lot in a lot of close games. Was there anything in particular that you did that kind of helped you deal with that pressure? More wanted to ask this question too, because that's a big aspect of it is mental health and doing things to stay calm under pressure.
Yeah, this was something I really kind of learned in college, because you do feel pressure as an athlete. There is that pressure, especially as like a scorer and someone on the team that needs to produce. I think in taking care of that mental side of it is just, if not, actually, I would say it's more important than, the physical side of it. Because if you're not mentally well, you're not going to be physically well. And that was something I learned in college. College hoops is like this. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster of emotions. I think just believing in myself, when things don't go right, whenever, because everyone doubts their self, maybe not Caitlin Clark or like someone. No, I'd say even Caitlin might sometimes, but like every athlete doubts themselves at some point in their game. And the most important thing is just having confidence in yourself and in your game and believing in yourself. Because, other people, if you just go off of other people believing in you and you just want to feed off that, you're just it's not going to work. Because at some point, if you don't believe in yourself, I don't want to say you're not going to be successful, but it's impossible. You just need that confidence piece. It makes you like not afraid to score. It makes you not like, you just go out there and you play freely. But if you don't believe in yourself, you're going to play so much lower than what you can. So that confidence piece was something I really learned in college is super important. So I worked on my mental a lot, and for me, like getting in the gym, getting up reps, seeing the ball go through the hoop, like that kind of helped my confidence. But also, I will say, like, I went to a sports psychologist as well. And I know a lot of like elite athletes do that. It's nothing to be ashamed of because it is a big part of the game, that mental aspect of it. And when you get to the next level and having those doubts and stuff, your confidence is so important in the game, especially when you get to those elite levels. So just having confidence in yourself.
Yeah, even on that too. I remember a really good mentor for me told me growing up, as you get higher and higher up the athletic pyramid, it's like 90% mental and 10% skills and physical. Like everyone, when you play D1, has a certain level of talent. But I guess it sounds like you got mentioned a couple of things there, but to go a little bit deeper for the audience, because I think a lot of parents know this, but it's hard to teach this and to get like middle schoolers, high schoolers to understand it. So like building up that confidence for yourself, like going into a game, maybe if it's an in-game tip or a pre-game tip or like a day of tip, what would you do to make sure that you didn't get down? Like, was it shooting 100 shots before the game to make sure that you always like saw the ball go through the hoop, or was it like a special meal that you had every time to make sure that you felt right for the game? Or in game, if you miss 4 shots, telling yourself like, hey, like the next 4 are going in, I don't care. Like what would be your tip to shooters out there who have those ups and downs of confidence but want to stay high?
I would say the main thing, honestly, is I just got to a point where I just didn't care. if the ball was going in or not. I was just like, I took the best shot I could, like that was the best shot for the team. And like, you've heard Caitlin Clark talk about it too, and mention it. She just doesn't care, like the best shooters in the world, Steph Curry, he's had games where he's gone, just super low percentages. So, when you look at shooters, like that's how it is. So some games I had to tell myself in the games, like, okay, like if I miss, I miss. Who cares? Shoot the next one. It isn't uncontrollable sometimes. I mean, it's controllable and uncontrollable, but like you're not going to be able to shoot 100% every single game. So like just go out there and just don't care. Just play the best that you can control. This is a big thing. Another thing that I learned, like, and I started to focus on, I said, control the controllables. I'm not always going to be able to control if the shot goes in, but I know that, okay, if the shot doesn't go in, I can go back and I can play hard on defense, or I can, stuff that's controllable. I can get the plays right. I can be in the right positions on defense. I can do the little things that I know are the controllables, and I can work hard and I can push myself 100% on the court. And that is a controllable, like I said, but you're not always going to be able to control if your shot goes in or out. So
that's a good message.
Yeah. So that, like, you just can't worry about that. You just cannot care at the end of the day, and you just got to move on.
Love that.
Was that something that having that type of attitude where, you're thinking about the next play, you're not focused on the shot you just missed. Was that something that became easier for you, like throughout your career at Penn State? Like, was it something maybe at freshman year was more of a challenge and then you kind of adapted, and how did your coaches help you with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely struggled with that early on, and I still struggled with it my senior year, and later in my career. But eventually I feel like it was a maturity thing where I was like, if I don't just move on to the next play, then that's a mental block for me, and that's not helping me in the game. So I said, okay, I need to get this mental block out and just not care. Because like I said, I would listen to advice on, like Caitlin, what she would say. And I'm like, Caitlin will go out there, shoot a million shots. She'll miss the first 7, make the next 8. Like it's, so, like follow the advice from some of the best shooters, best players in the world, and it was hard for me, a lot harder for me earlier in my career. It kind of goes back to like sometimes, the coaches are always going to be hard on you. They want to win at the end of the day. You just got to do it. You got to do it yourself. Your teammates will have your back too, but you got to tell yourself at the end of the day, like, I'm going to go out there and play. I'm not going to care if the shot goes in or out. I'm going to keep shooting, and I'm going to keep practicing too. Like, I want the shot to go in. I'm going to believe it's going to go in. But yeah, if you're a shooter, you're a shooter at the end of the day.
Try to get this mindset right for athletes and parents too. So like the college recruiting / like team selection aspect, it sounds like you for Penn State might have always been a lock because your family went there and you wanted to go to the school. But I'm sure you, at some point, if you were that good of a player, you probably had interest from other schools, maybe like, I don't know, step down, step above. Same thing with playing pro. You pick your team at the end of the day, and you want to get recruited and get paid, obviously, when you're a pro. But how do you go about, like, what was that process like for you, thinking about which college to pick and then which pro team to pick? Like, were you set on going somewhere where you knew you were going to get minutes because that was a big thing for you? Or did you want to just pick like the biggest name, best name pro team, college team, and like think that, hey, once I get in there, I can work my way up? Because I think a lot of athletes make the mistake of like, they just want to get to D1, they want to play as high as they can. Then when they get there, they realize that like everybody is just as good, if not better than them. And they get, sad, they transfer, go down a level. But like, how did that cross your mind when you were picking Penn State and your pro teams? And if it did, what was that selection process like?
For me, I would say, and I agree with you, I think a lot of girls do go off of, this is the highest offer, this is the best team, and I hate to say it, but with social media nowadays, they're like, they get a lot of media attention. For me, it was a family thing. I'd say a lot, because my heart was kind of with Penn State, but at the same time, I loved the community there. I loved the team when I went on my visit. All of that stuff was important to me as well. And there wasn't like the NIL aspect of it at this point. It was a hard decision because, like I said, there were a lot of amazing colleges that reached out to me and offered me. But at the end of the day, I think too, just I did want minutes. That was important for me. Like, I wanted to play basketball, and I knew that maybe on like some of the even like bigger offers that I had, I was like, I don't, they say, the coaches tell you, oh, you're going to play, you're going to get minutes. but it is a sales pitch sometimes, and they don't always, 100% mean that. And they don't know, as coaches too. Like, you might expect a player to be one way and you come in and a team just meshes, with a different five, or it's not exactly how the coach imagined it. And that's the coach's job, is to win at the end of the day. So if I have a hard time when coaches promise things like that. I did want minutes, and I think Penn State at that point, was coming off of like a rough season. And I was like, I want to help win games here at Penn State. And so, that was a big piece of it as well, of why I went to Penn State.
I think it's really smart. I know Matt's probably got a question, but just to summarize for parents, it sounds like you had a love for the school, which makes sense, but you also saw that they were maybe not at the top of the Big Ten when you were going in. You knew there was a shot you could get minutes, and those two things combined with the love for the school and the community, it's a really smart selection process. And I think if a lot of parents and athletes listen to that, they'd be better off, instead of just chasing always like the highest offer and then kind of being upset when you don't play until you're a junior. And it's like, at that point you put in a lot of time. So I think that message has to be heard more, so you don't get kind of lost in the weeds.
Yeah. I would say on top of that too, think about your long-term goals. As an athlete, like if you go somewhere and you don't play, that's going to hurt you down the road too. I know you're going to play in practice and stuff and get better there, and you're at a big name school, but I've seen a lot of girls that go to schools, like the big name schools, and like you said, like they don't play, and then their whole dreams were to play pro, and that changes really quickly because they didn't get minutes, they didn't get time. And playing on the court against high level competition, there's nothing that's going to be like that's absolutely how you get better, in practice, of course, and going hard in practices and against your own teammates who are high level competition, but like in the games too, like I played so many games over my career, and those games made me a lot better just playing the elite level competition that I did. So if you go to a school and you don't get those minutes, then it's hurting that long-term goal for you if your dreams are to play pro.
That's smart.
And I know it's hard to, we touched on this a bit, but I know it's hard to know before you go to school, like how much playing time you're going to get. A coach could tell you, you're going to get a lot of time, and someone else comes in and, performs better than expected. There's a lot of unknowns, but are there particular things that you think that a high school athlete should be looking for when they're meeting with a coach, or specific questions they should ask to get a better idea of how their coaching style is?
Yeah. And I don't mean to say, don't believe the coach, anything they say whenever you go on a visit. Look for style of play. Look and see, is this something that I think is really going to fit my style? I can see myself being successful here and in this position. And I think that, like, seeing it for your own eyes, okay, I can see where she's going to put me in this system. That's important. Looking for the family aspect too, like a family environment when you go to a school is big too. Is the team close? Are the coaches close with the team? Do they have good relationships with each other? Is it a community there? Is it a good community? Because, I know there are teams out there that don't have that good community, and it can be a little bit of a toxic environment to be around. So I think that's important too. I would say that's big. Just look at the system, do ask your questions, do your research about the school and the team and everything. And just maybe even like have a list of questions prepared. What specific, like this is a question you could ask. What specific role do you see me playing as a player in your system? Do you have me at the 2? Do you have me as a shooter? Do you have me as a combo guard? Am I going to play point guard and shooting guard combined? Like where do you see my role? And kind of just get all the information that you can and picture yourself in that system.
And for you, taking a step past college, not many people get there, but I think a lot of people want to. What's that been like, the switch from Penn State to playing pro? It sounds like you've been playing pro for a little bit, but is it a similar process? Like, do you ask those same questions to your agent, maybe to ask to your future pro coach, or is it like a whole different world and you're still learning it?
Pretty different world, actually. I'm a little bit different. So, I have an agent as a pro, and I guess you can have agents now in college. But yeah,
it's foreign to me.
But yeah. So I signed with an agent, and he kind of just looked and reached out, to different teams and found me a good spot. And it was my first year pro, and he said, this is a good situation for you, like good city, like good pay, like all this stuff, good team. So I said, okay, yeah, let's sign. It was definitely a little different. It wasn't like the offers thing that it was in college. And so I played for Dekakau in Hungary. And it was a great first year experience. I loved great people, great, great city, all that in the Hungarian league, which is also a very good league. But it was also very different in the way of, I tell people this, but like in college, we're pretty spoiled. We get a lot, we get the private planes, and at least, in the Big Ten, where I was, we get food paid for, all of our meals paid for, water, Gatorade on the sidelines. I went to my first practice overseas, and I walked in and it was no AC in the gym. It's so hot. And in Europe, they don't really have AC in the gyms. So I walk in and I'm sweating buckets and I'm super thirsty. And I'm like, where's the water? Is there any water here? And they're like, oh, you have to bring your own water. And I was like, wow, okay, all right, different world here. And, I was shocked, but I also so that put things into perspective. At the same time, I was very thankful of my experience there. And it's a different world, but it's a grind too. And I do kind of like that the grind part about it, all right, I got to bring my own water. I got to, do my own stretches. I got to be more independent. I got to, there's not hot tubs, cold tubs. There weren't, on the team that I was at, there wasn't recovery stuff. I mean, we did have a great masseur, which was really nice, but at Penn State, there was Normatex, there was, all this stuff for recovery, and it wasn't there. I had to do it, on my own. And that's just kind of the reality of the pro life. So
that's so interesting. I mean, those are things that you probably don't think about when you're first, going from Penn State, going to play pro, those type of things. I have one last question, and this really relates to our audience of younger athletes, youth parents, but is there one tip, you think to a young girl who's, wants to be, a Division I basketball player? What's one tip you would give them as they go through their journey?
I mean, I mentioned it before, but I would say something that a lot of athletes in general struggle with is that confidence piece of it, and just doubting yourself, doubting your game, especially if you have a bad game. You just kind of I was the type of person that if I had a bad game, I would just beat myself up, and just kind of all these negative thoughts would rush through my brain. I would tell, and this was something I would kind of wish I knew as a younger girl as well, even the top athletes, they have those kind of thoughts. They doubt themselves sometimes, even though they don't say it out loud. But, they fake it till they make it sometimes with the confidence. And that's what you have to do sometimes. Get to the point where you just, when I say don't care, obviously you want to care about, plays, and you want your team to win, and you don't just want to ignore your coach, if they tell you to do something, but just have that confidence about yourself. If a shot doesn't go in or you mess up on a play and something, just move on to the next one. It's okay. All of it, even the elite athletes doubt ourselves, and and Steph Curry, Caitlin, LeBron, all those guys, that everyone has bad games. It's going to happen. So just keep moving forward, keep working on your game. We had a quote in college. It was, 200 feet ahead, just keep looking ahead. Don't look behind. Just believe in yourself, because it's a Kobe quote. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to believe in yourself for you. I have that hanging on my wall in my bedroom. It is true. You just have to believe in yourself.
Love that. I got one last question too, Makenna. So just to going back to really quick, I know we're kind of flip-flopping, but the pro life, I don't think a lot of people understand this. And again, I didn't play nearly as high as you. I played for a year in Ireland, which is the lowest you can get in Europe,
cool.
But it was still fun. But that year overseas, I learned a lot of things about myself as a person. And I think when kids think about playing in college, like you said, it's teammates from the U.S., people from where you're from. It's a very familiar community environment. You go overseas, it's a whole different world. You don't know anybody. How was that first year for you, transitioning from everybody at Penn State that you know and love to totally being by your own in Europe, having to do everything? Was it exactly what you thought, or do you feel like you became a better, stronger person for doing it? I want athletes and parents to know that it's not just all sunshine and rainbows. There is a lot that goes into it, but what would that message be if you were talking to a phenomenal 8th grader who was like, McKenna, I want to play pro just like you. Like, what's it really like when you go over there? Just so people have a heads up.
It's tough because you're away from home, you're away from your loved ones, your families, your friends. There's a time zone difference. Like I was 6 hours ahead of my family. So, you know, talking to them, I had to kind of coordinate sometimes. Like I said, you're in a new country they spoke Hungarian in Hungary. And actually, I will say, you know, a lot of people in Europe do speak English, which is really nice. Like a lot of the younger people, they speak multiple different languages. It's so cool. But it was hit or miss sometimes. In my city with Székesfehérvár, you know, you didn't know if someone was going to be able to speak English or not. Especially like with the older crowd. Like I remember going into the grocery store and I couldn't buy bananas for the first month I was there because I was like, I couldn't communicate how to like weigh the bananas in like the section. So I was just like, nem, like, which means no. And I was like, I'm not getting bananas. So yeah, that was hard. I was just nervous to kind of move, to walk around the city because I didn't know if I was going to be able to communicate. You know, the buildings look different. They're very historic, which they're beautiful buildings, I will say. It's just a very different environment. It's a different lifestyle. Like people live differently than in the US. So that just getting used to that lifestyle, I will say, like, it's not for everyone. It's tough. If you're a homebody, which I am a homebody, but I'm also someone who, like, I love to experience new things. I love to get out, like, be social, that type of thing. And so it wasn't, like, too hard of an adjustment for me. But I have a lot of friends, you know, like, and people who I've talked to that either it wasn't for them or it was, like, a struggle. And you do get homesick. Like, I got homesick multiple times. I was there for 10 months. And luckily, I did get to come home for the holidays. But other than that, I was over there and I didn't have a car. So I walked and used the public transportation and I had to get used to that. So very cool experience. But like I said, it is hard and it's not for everyone.
That's a great message. And I think, again, everybody has kind of like rosy colored sunglasses about playing pro. And it's really cool to play the sport that you love and make money off of it. But it's not just kind of like picking up Penn State and bringing it to Hungary. It's like a whole different world. Yeah. So I think once athletes realize that and what goes into it, it'll help them make a better decision on like, do I really want that or do I just want to play in college and be done? So
yes,
that's super cool. McKenna, honestly, thank you for hopping on. You gave our audience a ton of great feedback, and basketball and soccer are our two biggest sports. So I know there's going to be a lot of people listening to this that take your message, whether it's the shooting tips, the confidence thing we loved, or just like playing in college and playing pro and running with it. And hopefully they can take some good feedback and actually make improvements to their game. So again, thanks for hopping on. We appreciate it, and it was super fun chatting.
Thank you for having me.